Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. Countries around the Baltic Sea are on heightened alert after a series of incidents damaging undersea power cables, telecom links and pipelines, critical arteries of Europe's security and economy. The latest case involves a cargo vessel detained by Finnish authorities over suspected sabotage of telecom cables linking Finland, Estonia and Sweden. As the EU praises Finland's swift response and steps up efforts to protect critical infrastructure, concerns are growing over hybrid threats and escalation risks. To break this down, we're joined by Emil Kastehelmi, a military expert at the Blackbird Group. Ms. Kastehelmi, welcome to TVP World. Thank you for taking time.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So these hybrid attacks, these attacks on undersea communication channels and so on, they're not new. But it seems as though the Baltic states, but the EU as well, has been somewhat slow in responding to them. Talk us through where we are in that process, please.
Well, during the Russo-Ukrainian war, there's been a series of incidents where ships somewhat linked to Russia, for example, have damaged various undersea cables, and this has been indeed like a series of incidents. So it's not about random events. You could say that they are indeed orchestrated by Russia, but like the actual evidence of them being done by the Russians, there's relatively little of it. So even in the newest case, the Finnish authorities, for example, are pretty hesitant to say that this was actually done by the Russians or paid by the Russians or whatever. So there's some difficulties in trying to actually examine these and then prepare for similar events.
Understood. Now, the Baltics, the Baltic Sea and so on, why is that of special importance to these ships? Why are those cables and other communication channels of particular importance?
Well, Russia has decided that this is one of the areas it wants to operate and conduct sabotage, or at least we can pretty well deduce that it's sabotage by the Russians, even though there's no like concrete proof maybe in most cases. And yeah, well, it's a strategically important area, and for example. St. Petersburg area and then Kaliningrad are, for example, on the coast of the Baltic Sea, which then makes it really important for the Russians. And they may want to assert their dominance, show that they are actually capable of conducting hybrid operations in this area, which is otherwise bordered by NATO countries, even though they are fighting a full-scale war elsewhere. So there are various theories why this may be happening at the moment, but however, one thing is probably true, that we will see more of them in the future. This is probably not the end of them.
Okay, well, that's important because clearly, certainly, Finland has been praised by the European Union for the speed of its actions in this particular case. What can you tell us about the level of Finnish preparation for counteracting this hybrid threat?
Well, of course, some of this information is not public, but generally, I can say that Finland has developed doctrines which then enables them to act quickly, or at least relatively quickly, when these kinds of damage to for example, undersea cables has been observed. So the authorities are ready to react quickly. There may be police and the border guards involved. And of course, then there's other NATO members in the area, the Baltic Sentry operation, and so on. So it's not just Finland operating in this area. This time it was the Finns that made the latest operation and took control of the vessel. But in the future, depending on where the ships are moving, where the damage is happening, other countries are also prepared to act against such sabotage operations.
Do you believe that a broader NATO operation is called for here? I mean, you say that we expect a higher volume, higher numbers of these ships going through and damaging undersea communications. Surely this is an attack on all of the Baltic states, which are members of NATO. Should NATO be taking a bigger role?
Well, it depends. It may be difficult for NATO as a military defense alliance to actually act. Of course, NATO has already begun, for example, the Baltic Sentry operation, which aims to counter these kinds of threats. But then again, individual countries must conduct their own operations too, because they may be the quickest ones to react when such a thing happens. And yeah, so it really also is I'd say like a case by case thing here, what we're working on. So because there are various scenarios, various ways to conduct this, it means that there needs to be a multitude of means to respond to them.
Understood. Now, you alluded earlier to the fact that it's difficult to precisely pin the blame on who's doing this, but of course, on the balance of probabilities, it's likely to be Russia. What does that mean in terms of legal loopholes? I mean, legally speaking, what can Finland do to prosecute these actions of hybrid warfare?
Well, it's possible that Finland can't really do much at the moment in the current legal framework. This is something that remains to be seen. This is, of course, like a problem but also something that Russians understand also. In a so-called successful or good hybrid operation, of course, the one behind it tries to hide all evidence, which can then link the event to it. So basically, even though pretty much everyone knows that it is most likely Russia, or it would be in Russia's interest to do such sabotage, it may be still difficult to actually pinpoint that who has actually ordered this, who has been the commanding all of the actions that have led to this. So it is possible that the actual culprit behind all this will not be revealed, and even prosecuting the individuals that did it may be difficult.
Can Finland hold on to these vessels?
Well, at least at the moment, but of course not indefinitely. Now Finland is most likely investigating the vessel, the people there, their communications equipment. So at the moment, there's an investigation ongoing as we speak, but there's been not much new information yet, because of course, naturally, these investigations will take some time before they can actually gather evidence and gather the material and then analyze it coherently.
Of course, the challenge is, you say it's all going to take a bit of time, but at the same time, we're expecting higher numbers of these ships coming through. I mean, it sounds as though it might be a bit overwhelming, don't you think?
Well, the good thing here is that these events don't happen weekly or even monthly. So still, even though there are such cases, they are still, well, there's a pattern, but it's not something that repeats itself all the time. However, the problem here is that preparing for these kinds of events may be a little bit difficult, as it's difficult to actually monitor when will individual ships lower their anchors, and so on. Uh, so I would say that it is possible that another incident won't happen for months, but then again, of course, it is possible that this is the beginning of a new series of operations to damage undersea cables. It's really difficult to estimate at the moment what will the near future bring.
Now, what we often forget, I mean, we talk about damaging undersea cables and so on, but we often forget that it has an impact on civilian life in the countries in that region. Tell us a little bit about that impact.
Well, of course, none of our systems mainly aren't reliant on singular cables or even a couple of cables. Of course, depending what is being damaged, but generally, of course, there are also countermeasures for the if singular cables get destroyed, or even damaged. Currently, it's also unclear how badly have the cables damaged at the moment. And before, also, we've been able to fix the issues relatively quickly without.
Yes, but what is affected? Telecommunications, electricity.
For example, data cables. So things related to telecommunications, for example. That's one case here, at least. But also other infrastructure, for example, energy infrastructure, has been damaged before.
Now, this is somewhat worrying, isn't it, that all of these structures can be damaged in case there is further aggression by Russia on these states. And of course, Finland is one of those that is constantly being, is conscious of all kinds of threats from your neighbour. Mr. Kastehelmi, thank you very much indeed for sharing your analysis with our audience. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. And that brings us to the end of this episode of World Talks. Don't go away, though. As always, lots more coming up. Goodbye.